So today me and my team did another absolute deep dive, an absolutely amazing banger video where we do a deep dive once again into the world of tier lists. This is the most accurate tier list that you could do. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. As I told you guys a few months ago, I'm going to be moving extremely quick. I'm not staying at my parents' house for a long time. I was just looking for a new place to stay, and that's why I have all these boxes in the back. Please excuse those. However, let's begin with the tier list. Another thing me and my team would like you guys to know is that we're not going to be making this list in chronological order. One, to keep the suspense going and save, some of the good ones for last. But secondly, also because in my personal opinion, I think it's kind of bullshit how people go from S tier to F tier. And, it makes it boring. It makes it uninteresting. So you're going to be impressed to see the order that I put these in. However, now let's begin. The first tier on this tier list today is going to be something that I personally hate, something that I personally don't like, and it is going to be the E tier. E tier gives me like the middle child, which is essentially what it is. No one really likes the middle child, and as a middle child myself, I know where that's coming from specifically. It's hitting me right home, and in my personal opinion, and in the statistical analysis that I've created today, we're going to have to rank it directly on F tier. Now, as you guys already saw in the video, I don't even have an E tier in this video. Reason being, I think it's a useless waste of space, and honestly, I would like to just get rid of it all in all. If you have an E tier on your tier list video, you're a loser. Go ahead and figure it out. Let's move on to the next one. Now, the next item on the list is something most of you will not expect. Go ahead and pause this video and take a guess in the comment section what you think it's going to be. I'll tell you guys right now, you're probably wrong, because the next tier we're talking about is none other than C tier. C tier is extremely important on the tier list. Not only does it showcase how important it is on the aspect of it shows, something that's completely mid, something that's completely in the middle, but it also showcases that you don't really like it or hate it, depending on how you rate this. With me, I cannot use my personal opinions, and they do not play into these factors at all. However, with this analysis that I just provided for you guys, I think it's completely safe to put C tier on A tier. It's extremely volatile, extremely important, and it can be used in good or bad scenarios, which is something most of these other ones cannot, share that factor with. And they cannot actually possess the ability to put something on C tier. However, it's still not the terrible thing and not the best thing. With C tier, that's the only tier that you're able to do that with, which is why I have to drop it directly on A tier. Now, my next tier is my favorite tier, also the tier that we're keeping out of this completely. However, the next tier on the list is going to be none other than S tier. S tier is an absolutely important tier to have on a tier list. It showcases that not only is it as good or even better than A tier, it has a special spot for it. A good example can be pulling a Gengar in a pack of Pokemon cards, or scoring a full court shot in 2K, or getting a 100 kill dub in Fortnite. It's extremely important. That's an S tier performance, and S tier performs on the S tier rating, which is where we're going to drop it. S tier is going on S tier. Now, the next tier on the tier list is going to be something extremely important once again, something that's extremely important in every single tier list you create, and it is going to be F tier. F tier is one of the most important tiers you can have on the list. It is extremely volatile, and it can go, it shows exactly what you're wanting to say. It's very straight up, very important on that aspect, which is why we're gonna have to drop F tier directly on S tier. Now, before you come at me and say I'm speeding through these, I can't really say much about him. I think most of them are completely factual, and if you disagree with me, go ahead and read some statistics, because statistically speaking, this is the best list you could do. However, dropping F tier on S tier is one of the best ones we've had so far. It is extremely important, extremely well done, and in my personal opinion, skipping E on a tier list is extremely important, but you can never skip F. The tier list would just not be complete without this one. Next tier on the tier list is something that I find not as important as the rest, however, still pretty important. It is going to be B tier. B tier is not really a great choice when it comes to the tier list. In my personal opinion, and in the statistical, analysis that I made for you guys, it is extremely bland. It's not something that's like super crazy. I do think we need it because it's better than mid, however, not as good as A tier. So it's something we will need. However, if we got rid of it, theoretically, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't be something that I would sit here and mope and cry about. If we got rid of F tier or S tier or anything of that nature, I would sit here and cry about it. However, not B tier, which is why I'm going to have to drop B tier directly on C tier. It's definitely not bad, definitely not a bad or unnecessary tier to have on the tier list. However, also not an important tier on the tier list. If you have it or don't have it, it's not the end of the world. Either way, it matters, but not that much. Anyway, now let's move on to our next one. Now, the next tier on the tier list is going to be followed up by B tier because it's also not extremely important. And if we got rid of it, it wouldn't be the end of the world once again. However, it does play some part in, putting together an entire tier list. And today's tier that we're talking about is going to be none other than D tier. D tier is extremely underrated in my opinion because D tier showcases not only the same thing that B tier showcases, it also still puts you extremely far down. Let me explain. It is the second to bottom tier on the tier list, which showcases something that you would say A tier would be on the top, because A tier tier still has one tier above it, just like D tier has one tier below it. That is why I think it is more important than B tier. B tier is still extremely simple. It's still extremely close to, you know, being officially called mid. It's just a little above mid. With D tier, it showcases that yes, it's close to C, however, it's also close to F, so it's most likely not the best rating, one of the worst ratings for a reason. However, today we're going to have to put it directly on C tier. The only reason I'm dropping it directly on C tier as well is just because, once again, it's not too important. If we got rid of it, we wouldn't die, we wouldn't cry about it, and we could still make a tier list without the D tier, which is what I've been debating doing in the future. I was debating getting rid of B and D, however, we're not going to talk about it in this video. Now let's move on to the next tier. And the final tier on this tier list is going to be none other than C tier itself. C tier is extremely important on a tier list. It is something that you could not get rid of without, you know, messing up your tier list. It doesn't put it together well because you don't really have that middle ground. C tier is that perfect middle ground that we all love, we all care about. And more importantly, I think it's extremely nice to have another letter where you, if you don't care about something or you don't have an opinion, something you're neutral about, you can drop it directly on C tier and no one is going to judge you, because at the end of the day, it's not worse than D or F. However, it's obviously worse than the rest. And in my personal opinion, it really does deserve to go directly on A tier. It's not enough statistical evidence to put it on A tier. However, we need it. It's extremely important. It's volatile. It can go both ways. And it's extremely versatile. It also can go both ways, you know? It's extremely well done. It's a perfect tier for the tier list. And in my personal opinion, it deserves to have A tier, which is where I put it. Now, guys, here's the tier list for this video. I don't know if you guys like it or not. Go ahead and take a look. Go ahead and screenshot it so you can jerk off to it later. I don't really care. However, now let's go ahead and film the outro. Now, y'all, I understand that today's video is way shorter than the rest of the videos I've created for you guys. Way shorter than the rest of the tier list in particular that I created for you guys. However, this video does not require a lot of time. This video did not require a lot of hard work compared to the rest of my videos. Go ahead and check those out. I'll link them in the description if I don't forget to. However, with this tier list right now, I feel like it's a pretty well placed we put it in. It's a pretty good tier list, and more importantly, it still took me a lot of time to make. So if you're new here, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. Me and my team are working hard to produce absolute bangers for you guys. And for those of you that don't know, I'm going bald at 10,000 subscribers, and we're about to be there. So at 10K, I'm going to have to post a new video of me going bald. I hope you guys enjoyed that video as well. It's coming really soon, within the next week if I was to guess. So if you're new here, once again, leave a like, subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with friends and family so, you know, we can grow this channel, grow the experience, and more importantly, grow the tier list volume that I've created for you guys. I want to make more tier list videos. They're doing extremely well for me compared to my other videos. So we're going to keep riding this wave. We're going to keep, per se, milking this cow till the teats are out of milk. But without further ado, I hope you all have a great day. Peace.